Stroke reoccurrence. I've heard the term multiple stroke. Explain that, because I'm fighting rehab daily. 1 year this month. Yeah. I mean, I posted that video. It was a clip from last month's live on YouTube this week. And there's definitely people that are aware that they're in a higher risk category for having another stroke. But there were definitely some comments in there of people that just did not know that you're in a higher risk category for having a second stroke. We do know there's a genetic component to stroke. Now, the hopeful thing about that is that there's a genetic component to almost every disease process that happens in life. Dr. Oz said in one of his videos, our genes load the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. And I love that analogy. Like, yeah, there's a genetic component sometimes to having a stroke, but it's really our lifestyle that kind of pulls the trigger. And so whether you have some kind of a genetic component that predisposes you to have multiple strokes or not, it's your lifestyle. So whether you have a genetic component, whether it was blood pressure, whether it was stress, maybe I hear this sometimes, well, I didn't know I had high blood pressure and now I do, and now I'm on blood pressure medication, so your blood pressure is low. It doesn't matter. Your risk is still double what it would have been had you never had a stroke. So yes, maybe you had high blood pressure that wasn't managed before and now it's managed, but I cannot stress it enough. The number one way to decrease your risk of having a second stroke is lifestyle. And I talk about it probably almost every month, but eliminating ultra processed foods. Ultra processed foods are anything that has a shelf life. The more I read about this, and every month you're going to get more of my passion about this because I read about this stuff a lot. It's not just that the ingredients in the food damage our blood vessels and cause damage in our bodies, oxidative stress. I've done a whole video on that. But ultra processed foods are designed to be addictive. So you eat more. No doubt about it. Someone said something in a podcast I listened to the other day. They called it the Dorito effect. A Dorito is a super ultra processed food. You can't just eat one. Like, you will eat an entire bag. We have all been there. Every single one of us has eaten past the point of being full when we've eaten ultra processed foods. They are meant to be addictive. They are meant for you to overconsume. So if there's one thing I think that everyone kind of should work, and no one's perfect at this, and we're not bad people because we eat, and I'm guilty of this too. I believe in the 80-20 rule. Do it 80% of the time, except for ultra processed foods. I literally, and I worked up to this, and I think it's good to set a goal where you are eventually kind of eliminating most of them, again, because they are addictive. So there is no moderation with ultra processed foods. It doesn't exist. Our brains are not wired that way, where we will become addicted to them. So that's one, is try as much as you can to eliminate as much ultra processed foods as possible. Now, this came up in the comments on the YouTube video, and I do think it's important. When I posted that video this week, is there are some reasons why people eat ultra processed foods that might seem like it's out of your control. Financial came up. Some people live in food deserts. So some people in big cities, low income areas, there are not grocery stores. So all there are like convenience stores. So you just have a tendency to eat more processed foods. But I think that is changing. I mean, there's Aldi's now, which those grocery stores are popping up everywhere, where you can buy discounted foods or cheaper foods, and you can buy fresh produce there. But, grocery stores and little markets are available. And about the financial thing, and I've been giving this a lot of thought too, because it's statistically proven that income, does correlate with more disease processes. So growing up in a low income household does impact that. But I've been giving this some thought. My theory is that if you're eating ultra processed foods, you are probably consuming double the amount of food that you would actually need to feel full if you ate whole foods. And so, although whole foods are more expensive and you do need to go to the grocery store more frequently, I 1000% think that they should do a study on this because I don't know if one exists. There might be one out there, but I just think you would consume less food. So I'm not convinced that you are actually saving money by eating ultra processed foods, because if you ate whole foods, you would probably eat less. So if there's one thing that I think is a take home message to decrease your risk of having a second stroke, it'd be to eliminate ultra processed foods. And then beyond that, alcohol, smoking, sleep, um, and stress management, getting daily sunlight, getting vitamin D, and drinking water, all ways to help you decrease your chances of having a second stroke. And then sugar's a whole nother topic on its own. I do think that sugar is addictive as well. That's a harder one to get people to buy into, because sugar is in almost everything. But table sugar would be definitely something that I would try and eliminate. So things like sodas or sugary beverages, that's an easy one for me. I don't think that I think it's easier to give up a sugary beverage, and I do, and this is controversial, but I do think replacing it with like a beverage with artificial sweetener is better than drinking that sugar sweetened beverage. So those would be like the main things that I think I would start with to focus on. And then beyond that, you can really go down the rabbit holes as far as like the best whole foods to eat to get the proper nutrients in. I would call that like level 2 of lifestyle, but baseline would be to eliminate the ultra processed foods. And then I would say level 3 would probably be like to talk about supplementation, which I do plan on doing a video on that, but there's just so much information out there and there's so much contradictory information out there that's why I haven't made the video yet, because every study I read kind of changes my opinion a little bit. But that would be like final stage. First stage is eliminating ultra processed foods. If you liked that video and you want to learn more exercises on how to improve your walking, definitely check out this video over here or that video over there. If you want even more help, check out our gold membership program, where you will get access to over 300 exercises that are not here on YouTube, as well as access to our monthly lives where you can get your questions answered.